Hi, in chapter 4, we got to know that the narrator believes that his little friend might belong to a small planet, a very small planet, which is called asteroid B612, which was discovered by a Turkish astronomer, and it was only seen once. And now it's been 6 years since his friend has left, and now he's recalling all those memories and he's trying not to forget it because he says it is sad to forget a friend. And he's writing about the little prince, and he's painting. He has brought the paints and some pencils to draw how he looked. He is trying to remember what were the particular scenes and how everything was with him, and he tells us that he's not able to draw anything perfectly. In one painting he's drawing the little prince a little tall, hair a little small, and that's how he describes everything. And he also talks about the grown-ups, and that the grown-ups don't care, they can't imagine anything, and they only talk about numbers. So you go up to some grown-up and you tell that how this is a particular house made of pink walls and this and that, and they won't like to hear it. They won't care about it. They only care about, oh, this house may be made of crores and something like that. Also, while making a friend, they don't think of, hey, you have a sheep, or how your voice is, or whatever else, whatever the human nature is. But the first thing they ask is, how old are you? Do you have brothers? And everything like that. So fourth chapter is all about this. But the chapter ends very beautiful lines where it's like a confession, where the narrator makes a confession where he says that mm his little friend was able to see sheep in the little box that he had drawn, but the narrator himself never saw one. So he says, probably I'm like a grown up and I have grown up, but I was not like him. I did not see sheep in the box. So this implies uh, it might imply that the narrator wanted to be him. It was the child that the narrator wanted to be, but he was forced to be a grown up. So when he met the little prince, his little friend, he wanted to be him. He was not him. This is what he's making the confession at the end. I was like, perhaps he thought I was like him, but unfortunately, I cannot see sheep through boxes. So these lines are really beautiful. So let's move on to the next chapter and let's see what it is there. Each day I learned something about the planet, about the little prince's departure from it, about his journey. The information would come very slowly, following the course of the little prince's thoughts. Thus it was that on the third day I heard about the catastrophe of the baobabs. Once again, it was thanks to the sheep, for suddenly the little prince questioned me as if seized by a grave doubt. It is true, is it not, that sheep eat little shrubs? Yes, that is true. Oh, I'm glad. I did not understand why the fact that sheep eats shrubs was so important, but the little prince added, therefore, they also eat baobabs. I pointed out to the little prince that baobabs are not little bushes, but trees as tall as churches, and that even if he were to take a whole herd of elephants with him, the herd would not be able to eat up one single baobab. The little prince laughed at the idea of a herd of elephants. One would have to pile them up on top of one another. But then he remarked wisely, before they grow to such a size. Baobabs start out by being small. That is true, but why do you want your sheep to eat the small baobabs? He answered me, oh, come, come, as if this was self-evident. I had to exert considerable mental effort to work the problem out for myself. It seemed that on the little princess planet, as on all planets, there were good plants and bad plants. So he's drawn the little prince, and here are little plants, and also the elephants on the planet. It seemed that on the little princess planet, as on all planets, there were good plants and bad plants. Good seeds come from good plants, and bad seeds come from bad plants. But seeds are invisible. They remain dormant in the depth of the earth until one of them suddenly decides to wake up. It stretches itself timidly at first, and then begins to push a charming little sprig in offensively towards the sun. If it is merely a sprout of radish or a sprig of rosebush, It can be left to grow as it wishes, but if it is a weed, it should be torn out at once. As soon as it is recognized, it so happens that there were some terrible seeds on the little prince's planet. They were baobab seeds. The soil of the planet was infested with them, but if you intervene too late, you will never get rid of a baobab. It spreads over the entire planet. Its root bore clear through it, and if the planet is too small and if there are too many baobabs, the planet explodes. It is a question of discipline, said the little prince to me later on. When you have finished your toilet in the morning, it is time to attend to planet's toilet with great care. One must pull out the baobabs very regularly as soon as they can be distinguished from the rose bushes they resemble so closely when they are very young. It is very tedious work, but also very easy. And one day he advised me to try and make a beautiful drawing so as to impress all this upon the children where I live. He said to me, if they travel one day, it might be of use to them. It may be convenient sometimes to put off one's work until another day. But in the case of Boba, it is always catastrophic to do so. A new planet inhabited by. So this is the planet he has drawn. So these are really huge trees which grow upon, and they have to like them off when they are child, when they are just in their growing stage. I knew of a planet inhabited by a lazy man. He had neglected three little bushes. So, basing my work upon the description of the little prince, I made the drawing you have just seen. I don't like to sound like a moralist, but the danger of baobabs is so little known and the risks are so considerable to whomever might get lost on an asteroid that for once I make an exception to my reserve. I say, children, beware of baobabs. It is in order to warn my friend of a danger of which they, like me, have been unaware for so long. Sorry, I'm not reading wisely. Children, beware of baobabs. It is in order to warn my friends of a danger of which they, like me, have been unaware for so long, that I have worked so hard over this drawing. My lesson was worth it. You may ask yourselves, why are there no other drawings in this book as impressive as the drawing of baobabs? The answer is quite simple. I have tried, but with the others have not had the slightest success. When I drew the baobabs, I was driven by a feeling of urgency. Oh wow! ये कितना सुंदर था ये. लास्ट में जो हमारा नरेटर है वो कह रहा है कि आपने भी नोटिस किया होगा मैंने कोई भी पेंटिंग इतनी अच्छी नहीं बनाई है जितनी ये बनाई होगी. और उसमें वो बोलते हैं कि व्हेन आई ड्रू द बाobabs आई वाज ड्रिवन बाय अ फीलिंग ऑफ अर्जेंसी, क्योंकि ये ये मेरी इकलौती पेंटिंग, मतलब ये वन ऑफ मेरी वो पेंटिंग्स होगी जो सक्सेसफुल है, इसको स्लाइटेस्ट सक्सेस को मिला है बिकॉज आई वाज ड्रिवन बाय अ फीलिंग ऑफ अर्जेंसी. सो द वे बाobabs grew and took over the whole planet, this is what I'm thinking, that he had to draw them fast so they don't take over it. So it's like quite cute. And this was chapter 5. Here we talked about the baobabs, how his plant is really small and they have to cut off these plants in order to. It's like a discipline. It's a question of discipline for the little prince and the people there. And baobab seeds are like the bad seeds at their planet. And yes, also there was one more line which I wanted to say again, but I think I'm not finding it. So yeah, chapter 5 was great. Bye bye. Thank you so much for watching, and like, share, and subscribe to Chulbuli Days. And thank you so much. Bye bye.